demeanor was extremely calm. Open the door, Wang Qingshan instructed in a low voice, stepping forward with the security personnel who directly pulled open the wooden door blocking their way. As the wooden door swung open, Sister Zhou was taken aback. She hadn't expected that behind this wooden door was a metal door leading to the bunker. The door was not large, only slightly bigger than an ordinary household security door. However, the entire silver door was polished to a shine, reflecting their figures. On the door, a fingerprint password lock was exposed to everyone's sight. To enter the bunker, they had to unlock this solid, heavy metal door. From the brief introduction, Sister Zhou knew that the most terrifying aspect of the entire bunker was not this door in front of them. The most astonishing thing was its defensive capabilities. Wang Xiaoxiao's father, it seemed, had some peculiar reasoning when he decided to build such a metal basement underground before constructing the villa. Perhaps he had too much money to spend, or maybe he suffered from apocalyptic delusions. In any case, he created a fortress as a birthday gift for his daughter. Who would have thought there was such a hardcore father in the world? If it weren't for the impending nuclear explosion, Sister Zhou would definitely say this person was insane, a lunatic. But now, she still felt that this person was a bit unusual, or perhaps he knew something. Let us begin. My time is limited, and I have guests to attend to later. At that moment, Wang Xiaoxiao's uncle urged. Hearing his words, Sister Zhou finally put Wang Xiaoxiao down. Wang Xiaoxiao, once on the ground, looked at Sister Zhou with concern. Noticing this, Sister Zhou didn't offer any words of comfort, but simply nodded to indicate that she should not worry. Seeing this, Wang Xiaoxiao no longer hesitated and reached out her small hand to press on the fingerprint lock. Ding ding. The electronic synthesized voice sounded, and the fingerprint touchpad that had been red before was now green. Good. Wang Qingshan behind them could not help but clench his fists and mutter. Sister Zhou glanced back at him and then focused her attention on Wang Xiaoxiao, her hand resting on the gun grip. She was absolutely confident that if anyone behind her made a move, she could take Wang Qingshan down with a single shot. Sister Zhou's behavior had long been noticed by the few security personnel and Wang Qingshan. The mutual distrust between them was nothing unusual. Wang Qingshan, however, did not care about this. In his eyes, everything outside the Wang family's wealth was insignificant. In his heart, Sister Zhou and Wang Xiaoxiao were already as good as dead. As long as he got what he wanted, he could send both of them on their way. However, he had no idea that Sister Zhou was thinking quite differently. Click, click, click. At that moment, accompanied by a series of mechanical sounds, a camera window opened at a height similar to Wang Xiaoxiao's. A black camera extended out from inside. Ding. Scan complete. Welcome home, master. As the electronic synthesized female voice sounded, the alloy door slowly opened with a hiss. The moment the door opened, bright white lights in the room suddenly illuminated, instantly revealing the interior to everyone. Clean, simple, immaculate. Behind the alloy door, it was not much different from an ordinary home. Stepping inside revealed a huge living room. Aside from the silver metallic sheen at the entrance, the entire living room was decorated in a modern style. Is this underground? Upon seeing the view outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Sister Zhou was completely stunned. Even the viewers in the live stream were astonished. Could this be above ground? However, soon, the questions in everyone's minds were answered. Approaching the floor-to-ceiling window, Sister Zhou sensed a hint of warmth on her face. This warmth was not like that of sunlight. Instead, it felt more like heat emitted from a machine. And soon, the facts proved her right, as behind the entire floor-to-ceiling window was a massive, high-definition screen. The screen simulated not only the sky and cityscape, but also realistically depicted cars and pedestrians on the road. Wow! The clarity was enough to confuse reality with illusion. Just as Sister Zhou was amazed, Wang Qingshan's voice rang out. TSK, TSK. My brother really has a talent for extravagance. After his moment of reflection, he changed the subject. All right, Xiao, now let us find the things for uncle. In the end, he wore a smile that even a child would find off-putting. Xiao is the best. Wang Xiaoxiao was not an ordinary little girl. Looking at her uncle's face made her feel uncomfortable. However, she also understood that both her and her sister's lives were still under threat. The best course of action now was to obey the other party's words, and to trust her sister. With this thought in mind, Wang Xiaoxiao nodded in agreement and led everyone deeper into the room. Before long, they arrived in front of a study door. Wang Xiaoxiao opened the door and said, Uncle, the things are in the safe in the study. Upon hearing her words, Wang Qingshan's eyes lit up with excitement. The Wang family's assets, worth hundreds of billions, would soon be his. How could he not be thrilled? Suppressing his excitement, he said with a friendly demeanor, Xiao, quickly take it out for uncle. Seeing such a repulsive expression, Sister Zhou couldn't help but roll her eyes. She's still a child. Can she lift those things? As she spoke, she bent down to pick up Xiao and walked into the study, whispering something in her ear. Watching Sister Zhou carry Xiao, a flicker of malice crossed Wang Qingshan's hesitant gaze. He then instructed a nearby bodyguard, you all guard the door. Ah Hung and Xiao Lu, follow me. Keep an eye on that woman. As he spoke, they followed Sister Zhou into the study. Following Xiao Zhao's guidance, Sister Zhou opened a cabinet and saw the safe at the very bottom. Without waiting for Sister Zhou to make a move, Wang Qingshan hurriedly stepped forward, his gaze intensely tracing over the scene for a while. He then instructed his two subordinates, "Quick, get the safe out." The safe was not large, weighing about 70 to 80 kilograms. For Wang Qingshan, this was quite heavy, but for the two bodyguards, it was just a bit cumbersome. As the two bodyguards lifted the safe, Sister Zhou's voice rang out in the study, "Don't move." Bang! At the same time, a sound of impact echoed as the previously open study door was slammed shut. Wang Qingshan and the others were startled and instinctively looked over. They saw Wang Xiaoxiao, who had been next to Sister Zhou earlier, had somehow slipped to the door. After closing the door, Wang Xiaoxiao even locked it before hiding away like a little sprite. "What do you mean?" Wang Qingshan glared at Sister Zhou, his face turning ashen. He never expected the other party would take action at this moment. Not only him, but even the two security guards were taken aback by Sister Zhou's boldness. "I'm not doing anything." Sister Zhou glanced at the time, noting that there was less than 5 minutes until the nuclear explosion. She raised her head with a cold smirk and said, "To be honest, I don't want to take risks either, but I promised that child I would avenge his parents. And I have a flaw. If I promise someone something and don't do it, I feel terrible all over." Upon hearing this, Wang Qingshan's expression grew even darker. His face clouded like a pot's bottom. "Aren't you afraid of dying?" "Dying?" Sister Zhou's lips curled into a smile. "To be honest, I'm quite afraid of death. However, in this world, death is not frightening to me. What is truly terrifying is trouble." Bang! As she spoke, Sister Zhou pulled the trigger of her handgun. Chapter 215. Only women and villains are hard to raise. Since ancient times, there has been a saying that women and villains are hard to deal with, which indicates that there is indeed some truth to it. The two bodyguards carrying the safe and Wang Qingshan never expected that the woman before them would suddenly take action. After 2 gunshots, the two bodyguards who hadn't had time to discard the safe lost their fighting capability. Ignoring the cries of the bodyguards, Sister Zhou stepped forward and disarmed them. With a cold smile, she turned to look at Wang Qingshan. "Don't blame me. We're all adults here. And we all know what you're thinking. Once you get what's in the safe, you won't let us go. And I know this too." Hearing Sister Zhou's words, a flicker of fear passed through Wang Qingshan's triangular eyes, and he muttered in disbelief, "Crazy woman. Why would you agree to this if you knew it was a death sentence?" Sister Zhou raised her hand to call over Wang Xiaoxiao, who was hiding in the corner, and patted her on the head, saying, "Didn't I say it? It's because I promised this child to avenge her." With that, Sister Zhou aimed her gun at Wang Qingshan and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Wang Qingshan widened his eyes, unable to believe what he was seeing. Even in death, he thought this woman was a bit out of her mind. Awesome. This is the real Sister Zhou. Yes, if you want to do it, just do it. Watching Sister Zhou in action is truly thrilling, without any hesitation. As Sister Zhou efficiently dealt with Wang Qingshan, the viewers in the live stream began to praise her. However, Sister Zhou did not let her guard down. Although Wang Qingshan was dead, there were still many of his subordinates outside. Who knew if any of them were loyal enough to stab her in the back? Fortunately, Sister Zhou's concerns did not come to pass. When the security personnel learned of their employer Wang Qingshan's death, some had to accept the reality of unemployment. The safe in the study contained quite a few valuables. With the money she took, Sister Zhou generously played the role of a benefactor. Under the lure of money, the security personnel quickly carried the 3 bodies out. Once everyone had left, Sister Zhou locked the heavy alloy door completely. At the moment the door closed, she vaguely heard the sound of alarms wailing. "Damn it." Glancing at the time, she complained, "It's a pity not to witness such a historic moment." Do you want to see outside, sister? Dad has installed cameras. We can." As she spoke, little Xiao Xiao took out a white remote control from the coffee table drawer. Sister Zhou fiddled with it for a moment, and suddenly, the view from the floor-to-ceiling window changed to show some buildings. Instantly, she recognized it was the situation on one side of the villa. "That's impressive," Sister Zhou exclaimed, then switched the camera angle. The surveillance now encompassed the entire perimeter of the bunker. Seeing this, Sister Zhou couldn't help but marvel at how wealthy Wang Xiaoxiao's father truly was. These surveillance systems will likely find it hard to escape the upcoming nuclear explosion. Suddenly, as she changed her perspective, an unusual sight in the sky caught her attention. A dazzling white light, resembling a meteor, was heading towards the center of the city. Even from dozens of kilometers away, the light spot was not clear in the footage. However, she sensed that it was likely an intercontinental missile, and even the young boy. Upon arriving in this world, she hadn't had the chance to understand the background, only knowing that her life was in danger. She gazed deeply in the direction of that missile, saying nothing. In the next moment, the missile exploded at the city center. A terrifying storm surged, creating an impact that rapidly spread to the outskirts of the city. At that moment, a massive sandstorm swept through, causing all surveillance equipment in the bunker to go offline. Sister, this. Wang Xiaoxiao, too young to grasp what the end of the world meant, struggled to describe what she was witnessing. Suddenly, she crouched down and picked up the small figure, saying, "This is the day of rebirth, the moment humanity and the world start anew." Given her limited vocabulary, it was quite impressive that she could find such an explanation. In the following days, without surveillance and no knowledge of the outside situation, the two of them began a long life in the bunker with ample supplies. The first act of Wasteland, the story of the day of rebirth, thus came to an end. However, because the roles were not fixed and even the cities differed, the strategies from prominent figures online lost their significance. The expansive storylines, characters, and plots of Wasteland became popular again as players discovered them. In fact, it quickly became the game with the most players waiting in line in the gaming hall. The gaming company continued to release classic works, once again making Wasteland trend in the top 3. This situation was not surprising to Lin Fei, and even several behind-the-scenes employees of the gaming company had grown accustomed to it. Meanwhile, the community space of the gaming company, having been online for just half a month, already reached a staggering 400 million registered users. The peak number of concurrent users also hit a remarkable 120 million. At this point, the gaming company was unstoppable, and becoming the leader of the gaming industry in the region was just a matter of time. In this environment, a new batch of merchants emerged. They didn't need to clock in or even play games. They made a living by staying in the community's auction house every day, profiting from price differences. Their income was quite substantial. The gaming company once again caught the attention of internet firms. Damn it, he's crossing the line. Does he even realize it? In the headquarters meeting room, an executive angrily swept a cup and documents off the table, standing up with a furious expression, stating that the community of the gaming company had seriously crossed the line and was no longer just a gaming platform. This thing is truly an independent gaming world. Who can tell me? How did you all come up with something like this? Recently, despite having support from a certain gaming association and an internal development team operating at full throttle, he believes that with effort, it is possible to create a game that surpasses the competition. However, just as he was filled with confidence, the VR gaming community of the competition once again attracted attention. 10 minutes ago, in the spirit of knowing oneself and one's enemy to ensure victory, he donned a headset and entered the community. Upon entering this new, immersive VR world, he was completely stunned. The game graphics, as well as the mechanical cities within the game, were all filled with a futuristic, sci-fi vibe. Setting aside his prejudices, he had to admit that this was truly something that was hard to surpass. As he was lost in thought, he suddenly heard heavy footsteps behind him and instinctively turned to look. At that moment, he saw a towering figure, completely naked except for a dark metallic sheen, with only the head retaining human features. Faced with this heavily equipped giant, the one known for his financial prowess felt a bit intimidated. There was no way around it. This nearly 3-meter-tall figure exuded an overwhelming presence. Just then, the giant, staring at him with a blank expression, asked, "New here? Have you registered?" Chapter 216. New discoveries. As the game warehouse came into view, the character, feeling a mix of awe and confusion, stared at the imposing figure before him. A steel giant even more intimidating than some renowned figures. This steel giant, however, did not seem to be the type to pay attention to details. Noticing the bewildered expression on the character's face, he firmly grasped the character's shoulder and turned him around forcefully. "Follow this street to the end, the first place you see. Go there to register your information." After saying this, the giant paid no further attention and stomped away. The character, confused by the need to register again after already having done so, didn't quite understand the situation. Of course, he had no intention of registering again, as he wanted to keep his information private. Thus, he brushed off the giant's words. However, the shock of the gaming community around him made him oblivious to his own appearance. He hadn't even considered that the character he was controlling was actually himself. His face was well known in the gaming circles, almost like a free endorsement. A few players walked past and immediately halted. One of them, staring at him in surprise, exclaimed, "Is that you?" "Oh no." The character panicked, realizing he had been recognized. "No, you've got the wrong person. I'm not that guy. I just look like him." Hearing this, the players scrutinized him skeptically. "Wow, you really do look like him," one player remarked, and suddenly seemed to have an idea, whispering, "Hey man, since you look so much like him, why not try the facial recognition scan? If you can get it to work, you could have endless points." Is this even a serious suggestion? The character thought, almost ready to explode. Using my own face? Only players like these would come up with such an idea. Not wanting to waste more time with them, he bid them farewell and strolled along the street. As he walked, he realized that this game community world was remarkably similar to the real world, perhaps even more sophisticated. Here, not only was there astonishing technology, but also flying vehicles akin to those seen in sci-fi movies. Real flying cars, not the ones from his own racing game. As he walked down the street, He saw people with mechanical prosthetics seamlessly integrated with their bodies. Observing this perfect blend of flesh and machinery, he felt as if he had stumbled upon a culture that revered such enhancements. In an instant, his mind opened up, and he felt a surge of excitement. At that moment, it was as if he had discovered a new continent, and a vague game framework began to take shape in his mind. He believes that as long as he can successfully develop the game in his mind, there's no reason he can't compete in the gaming realm. With substantial assets, his company has been working on new gaming models over the past year. This involves immersive gaming in a gaming pod. Compared to VR, gaming pods are much more advanced, and the technology has been in place for several years. It just hasn't been applied in the gaming field until now. His collaboration with the Gaming Association aims to launch this technology. Lin Fei's community has completely opened up new ideas for him. He can even envision himself reclaiming the title of the godfather of the gaming industry in the future. It can be said that Lin Fei's community has rekindled his hope of returning to the peak. With a plan in mind, he began exploring the mechanical-style city. As he delved deeper, he found that an area called GE76 was incredibly vast. This area was comparable to a first-tier city in reality, which was astonishing. Even though this world was just a data world, operating such a gigantic city was not something an ordinary server could handle. From NPCs, he learned that to reach farther areas, one must take the aerial train. After confirming the train station's location, he intended to venture out. However, he unexpectedly encountered a group of people shortly after setting off. Faced with a pair of burly men, all with rugged mechanical arms and a menacing aura, he felt a jolt of anxiety. It turned out that unregistered outsiders were subject to forced registration or expulsion. The leader, a scar-faced giant, had eyes glowing red beneath his scar. The mechanical eyeball emitted red beams, scanning him from head to toe. Then he spoke. Register or be expelled. Register? Expelled? What does that mean? Not understanding what expulsion entailed, he was momentarily taken aback. CEO of a major gaming company logged into Player Realm one day, suspected of being a seasoned user. The thought of this news trending after his registration made him quickly say, "Is registration mandatory?" Hiss. Upon hearing his words, many users around him widened their eyes and gasped. This guy who looked like him, is he really that stubborn? Doesn't he understand the terror of being expelled? With the launch of Player Realm, some unscrupulous users had already been expelled to the Black Zone by city guards. Being expelled to the Black Zone likely meant the account would be deemed invalid, and the user might never want to register for Player Realm again. Who in their right mind would want to be expelled with such a punishment? Is he insane? How can someone with a face like his not have the brains to match? Hearing his response, the city guard with a mechanical eyeball wasted no time. He raised his hand and opened a portal resembling a black hole, directly sucking him in. Wait, no? The unexpected situation caught him off guard as he was instantly transported without even a chance to say a word. Confused, he found himself in an unfamiliar environment. It was dim all around, with no signs of light. In front of him was a winding dark river, and in the distance, endless gray mountains loomed. Is this the exit from the city? He stared in disbelief, but the next moment, his eyes widened in shock. What is that? Not far from him, on the misty riverbank, several large, dark gray figures slowly emerged from the fog. Death, the Grim Reaper? As he gazed at the figure riding a skeletal warhorse, wielding a massive scythe, he was at a loss for words. Run. Why are you just standing there? Just as he was transfixed by the sight, someone pulled him from behind. The sudden tug jolted him awake from his stupor. Without waiting to understand the situation, he instinctively followed the figure that had roused him, sprinting in the opposite direction of the Grim Reaper. Before long, he arrived at a wooden cabin in the woods with that person. The pungent smell of decay made him frown, and he finally looked up to assess the other party. It was a shocking sight that nearly made his heart leap out of his chest. At the same time, a chilling, raspy voice echoed, It's been a long time since we had newcomers here. Chapter 217. Cash people need special treatment. What kind of ridiculous setting is this? The Twisted Vine, having exited the Player Realm, still had the image of that gaping mouth in its mind. Being expelled was one thing, but why was there a man-eating monster in the forest? Is this the consequence of not registering? After a moment of panic, the Twisted Vine calmed down and, once its emotions stabilized, immediately called a meeting. The participants were all from the recently restructured development department. The entire development team was present. The Twisted Vine immediately reprimanded its subordinates before announcing, the development department's project is on hold. Upon hearing their boss's words, the employees in the meeting were all stunned. The new project in the development department had just started, although the initial funding was not substantial. What did this sudden halt mean? Could it be that their boss was about to pull some nonsense again? No doubt, when it came to pulling unexpected stunts, their boss had quite a history, just like before, when it was clearly agreed upon that they would develop a game, only for the project to be abruptly terminated halfway through and switched to imitation. No, high imitation. With such a track record, everyone felt that their boss might be up to something again. As expected, sitting at the head of the table, the Twisted Vine surveyed the room and was slightly surprised to see calm expressions on everyone's faces. It was truly commendable how well the employees handled pressure. It seemed they were not surprised at all. We have limited time, so I will be brief. In the entertainment industry, especially in gaming, we must understand the current market and cater to player preferences. The Twisted Vine spoke at length before finally steering the conversation back on track. From a personal perspective, it began to critique the VR platform of the player realm. Eventually, while the audience was still somewhat confused, it stated, "Next, our focus should be on world development. We need to create a game world, not just a simple game. I will name this world Free World. Here, players can assume any role, and the entire game world will be freely accessible to them. Additionally, this world will be open to all players for free." As the Twisted Vine spoke, the employees below exchanged strange glances. They felt that what their boss was describing sounded somewhat familiar, but they couldn't quite place it. Overall, it felt eerily reminiscent. Just then, one employee suddenly interjected, "Boss, what you're saying sounds a lot like the player realm." This remark truly woke everyone from their daze. They finally realized what was going on. No wonder it sounds more familiar the more I hear it. It turns out that what our CEO mentioned is precisely the VR community of a certain gaming platform. An employee, seeing that the CEO did not refute, asked, "Are we planning to copy it, Mr. Ma?" Originally expressionless, the CEO immediately showed an unhappy demeanor upon hearing this. "Which department are you from? Don't you know I despise plagiarism? We are drawing inspiration, understand?" The series of questions left the employee speechless and even made others who wanted to ask questions swallow their words. At this moment, the head of the development department raised a question. "Mr. Ma, if we develop a new project, what about the previous investments?" Before the head could finish, the CEO interrupted. "The previous project is completely incomparable to this one. If the development on the gaming side goes smoothly, I believe our open world has a bright future ahead." In the conference room, the employees looked at the CEO, who exuded immense confidence, and found themselves at a loss for rebuttals. Or rather, they began to feel excited about the world the CEO described. Therefore, the entire meeting went very smoothly. The members from foreign studios, upon learning about the company's new project, not only did not feel angry, but instead became eager to try it out. Although the company's decision rendered their previous efforts futile, the new project was related to the VR platform of the gaming community. Once these individuals received their accounts from a certain company, they couldn't hold back and dove into the VR world. These accounts were all certified by employees of that company, with their characters already set. Even if a foreigner logged in, they would still appear as their account-bound character. These top foreign game producers were immediately captivated by the magnificent mechanical world before them. OMG. Oh my god, this world actually has its own complete system. It's hard to believe. So terrifying. In this world, as long as the brain is alive, all organs can be replaced by machinery. This is simply unbelievable. Is this really a masterpiece created by a small game studio? As they gradually delved deeper into the VR community, the storm of emotions stirred up within these foreigners was no less than a level 12 tempest. They were not like ordinary players. They were elites in the game development field, and as such, their shock at this VR community was even more profound. Setting everything else aside, calling this VR community a complete world would not be an exaggeration. What shocked them even more was that the indigenous NPCs in this world possessed terrifying AI capabilities, which could easily be considered true artificial intelligence. This is simply a divine creation. I really want to meet the creators of this community. At this moment, several renowned game developers instantly became fans of a gaming community. They were even contemplating whether to stay in a certain country and find a way to join this community in pursuit of advanced technology. What is this? Looking at the back end of the community's VR platform, Lin Fei couldn't believe his eyes. Ever since the launch of the VR platform, he had returned to a leisurely lifestyle, checking the back-end data whenever he felt bored. Of course, he wasn't looking at all the data. He was only interested in the information about unauthorized access. However, unexpectedly, he came across an intriguing registration ID today. Although the individual hadn't completed real name registration yet, he was almost certain it was that person. Interesting. His fingers tapped on the computer desk as he observed this account trapped in the black zone. Less than a minute later, he dragged the account out of the black zone, but instead of placing it among the users of the mechanical city, he tossed it onto a special island. After all, this person was quite affluent and deserved special treatment. He imagined that when the individual logged back in, they would surely experience what true free meant. Chapter 218. News released again. The association faces blockade after finishing everything. Lin Fei opened the system to check his emotion value. When he saw the balance, he was momentarily stunned. It had been a long time since he paid attention to the emotion value, and he didn't expect it to have reached a staggering 1.5 billion. Seeing such a large amount of emotion value, Lin Fei immediately decided to give the players something big. However, To achieve the stunning effect he envisioned for the game, the current VR technology was clearly insufficient. An immersive experience pod was a good choice, but unfortunately, it had not yet reached a widespread level, and some of the technologies were not as mature as VR. If he wanted to develop it, he would have to start from scratch. Fortunately, Lin Fei was not short on money. With a significant financial push, he finally acquired a relatively mature motion sensing pod company. To develop a game by acquiring a motion sensing company, this was something only Lin Fei could pull off. After all, the cost of a game is far less than that of a mature enterprise. After officially renaming the motion sensing company to Player Kingdom Motion Sensing Pods, Lin Fei entered a busy phase. Lacking experience, he became hands-on with everything. For more than 3 months, he worked from dawn to dusk, exhausting himself. "Hey, little brother, we're not short on money now, so why push yourself so hard?" Lin Luo said, seeing Lin Fei, who had become dark and thin after a few days apart. With a worried expression, "Haha, although I'm a bit tired, I feel much more fulfilled." Lin Fei smiled slightly at his sister and said, "Besides, as a conscientious game producer, I have to keep bringing new games to the players. That's what makes life meaningful, right?" After saying that, he went into the bathroom to freshen up. When he came out, Lin Luo didn't bicker with him as usual, but prepared the meal, waiting for him to join her. At the dinner table, Lin Luo still expressed her concerns. "I really worry you'll exhaust yourself." "Haha, don't worry, in another month, it will all be over," Lin Fei said, then began to eat ravenously. After finishing, he instinctively got up to clear the dishes, but was stopped by his sister. No need for that. Lin Fei simply returned to his room. One day a month later, a sudden message exploded on Lin Luo's long-quiet social media. Player Kingdom will go live on the Douyu platform at 8 p.m. the day after tomorrow. Producer Lin Fei will be guesting in the live broadcast with a new game. Please be sure to join us, everyone. See, what did I say? Player Kingdom hasn't had any news for so long. They must be holding back a big surprise. And here it is. Damn. As expected of Lin Fei, this output is indeed a bit terrifying. This is what we call a conscientious producer. It's our honor to have Lin Fei in the gaming circle. I must go and shower some gifts the day after tomorrow, no matter what. The production team has released a new work. I'm looking forward to it. It seems I need to prepare my wallet. Aren't the games from that gaming giant all free now? What do I need to prepare my wallet for? Of course, it's to send gifts to the game's creator. If this keeps going on, I'm worried that the gaming giant might go bankrupt, and then we won't have anything to play. That's a valid point. No, I need to take out my savings to recharge. Every time the gaming giant releases new news, it always trends online, as if trending topics exist solely for them. With the news from the creator being shared, the entire online community in the region is flooded with announcements of the new game. At that moment, countless netizens feel an immense sense of pride. Compared to those foreign users who can't access the games, they feel incredibly lucky. Of course, there are also some show-offs online. These individuals translate the creator's messages into various languages and post them in international gaming communities. They want foreign users to see what productivity looks like. When these various versions appear in forums, foreign users become restless. OMG, is this Lin God? How long has it been? Not even half a year, and there's already another new release. This is unbearable. Can't this guy understand the frustration of watching videos without being able to play? Is he just that inconsiderate? Naturally, while these foreign friends resent the creator, they harbor even more hatred for the capitalists in the Western Gaming Association. Just thinking about how this group of capitalists prevents them from playing games, foreign players in the forums organize once again. That afternoon, thousands of players gathered outside the association's office building, holding various signs. "We don't need the association, dissolve it. Get out of our gaming circle. We want to play what we want, not what you capitalists decide. Get out of our beautiful country, we don't welcome you. Out, out, dissolve, dissolve. Damn it. That Lin Fei and these players. Don't they realize the severe consequences of letting that gaming giant enter the Western market? These brainless players. Why don't they just disappear?" Inside the association's office, Bamond looked at the players marching outside with a dark expression. After cursing for a while, he knew he had to resolve the situation. He picked up the phone, first contacting the police to report the situation, and then reaching out to his contacts back in the region. When the call connected, an enraged Bamond immediately exploded. "Damn it. I'm seriously doubting your capability. Why haven't you dealt with that gaming giant studio yet?" Receiving an international call. Before he could even speak, the other party launched into a tirade, leaving him bewildered. However, no matter what, he once was a pioneer in the internet sector of his country. Once he regained his composure, he immediately roared, "Please watch your tone. I am not your subordinate. Nor am I an official member of your association. If this happens again, I believe we should reconsider our collaboration." Upon hearing his words, the other party cursed lightly and replied, "I can overlook your attitude, but don't forget who is currently supporting your technology." "Oh, are you referring to those technicians?" Upon hearing the mention of foreign technicians, his expression became intriguing. "If your association can recall them, I would be more than happy." but I fear they no longer wish to leave my country. What? The other party could hardly believe his ears and instinctively asked,